The tunnels in Brazil. It was a long, long time ago, and I they had been living in grass huts or something, and I think I might have helped them build the grass huts. I forget. Um, I think maybe I had had some gypsum or something, or not gypsum. I mean, some sort of glass type stuff or something else like that. I might have had another group heating up rocks or something. Or actually, I think I go back further than that. I think I go back to when they just had wood tools and wood tools or stone tools. There's something particular about the island. I forget, but I was there and I had been working with them for a long time. And I even sent a group of them out from the island to go exploring and to find other places to see what else there was. And I think I stayed with the group. I was with the group the whole time, and I was helping them as they went, and and it's confusing. Um, but there was a storm at the island, and they asked me for help, and I suggested that they dig underground. The ground was soft clay, um, and I also helped them. I invented some weaving stuff or some some ways of weaving or something like that, or we worked together on it or something. And they made the shuttle or the back and forth thing, or we worked together on it basically. And the room that is in there with the pots or whatever and the stuff is stuff that I invented. My inventions helped them make back then in time. And one of the reasons why I wanted it to be in those rooms was so I would know how old I was, or and how far I have come since then. And it's confusing. Um, but I was back there before the caves. Back when they used to just dig the huts and then they would fill the huts with wood and then they would burn the inside of the ground to make it hard, back originally. Everyone lived in grass huts back then. And I was working with another group, I think, to make some harder stone or something like that, or chip the glass into something sharp. We didn't have much back then, it was just wood tools. And I had invented 3 things or 5 things which were used to help them greatly. Um, a couple groups left their party, they went out, I think they might have met somebody else or something. A lot of time passes, or it's weird. I'm back at the island and I want to do something and I want to help them in some way. And I asked for another group that had been helping this whole time. I believe it's the Europeans or the British. I think what happened was somehow they had gone overseas and met someone else and mated and had become a civilization under my guidance. And I needed help back at the island, Brazil, with something. And I asked for the Europeans to come and help them. And the Europeans came, and they didn't recognize me at first or something. And then they did recognize me, and they translated with the natives or something. For some reason, I didn't speak their language, or there was a confusion. I wanted something made that was complicated, and the locals couldn't really help me. And I wanted to help them more build schools and stuff, and some other stuff, some other waterway stuff. And I had been helping, I believe, the Europeans gain in technology. And I think I had helped the Europeans build bigger textiles and stuff. I had been helping them a lot, and I had kind of forgotten about the island of Brazil. The Europeans came back, like I said, and we set up a brick kiln. I think I had been helping the British, and they had invented better kilns and stuff, and also bigger textiles. And so I came and brought that back, or had them help the natives build that for themselves, as well as we started making bricks out of the red clay because the British knew that they could do, it was really good stuff or something. And I, at the time, then some time passes or something passes, and I need a really high heat part that can take 25,000 degrees for some reason. And the British mentioned that that particular clay would be perfect for that. So we start making some porcelain items, and I think the natives have been making some clay pots and some other stuff, um, basic stuff. And the British scientists, I think I had been helping the British scientists gain in education and science and stuff. I'd been helping over there a lot. And I had finally gotten a good system for how to invent things and how to do things. And I was bringing that back to the native population and sharing with Brazil and the local population about technology and everything we had learned. That information was shared, and schools were built, and some brick buildings were built, and some other stuff happened. And while we were doing that, the tunnels and caves were being dug, and they even used the tunnels to cook the fire bricks at first, but then later on they built better kilns. I think we did the using the tunnels as the kilns first, and then as we went overseas, we got better ways of doing it. And then a bigger facility was built back at the main island many years later, like probably 50 years later or 100, sometime later. I don't really know exactly. I just remember the pictures mostly and my involvement in how I invented 3 or 5 things, and they made clothes and other useful tools, and I was helping them with that. I helped them invent things that were useful. And then we had wood shovels, which they used to make the tunnels. And then they built a lot of tunnels, and they put everything inside, everything that I had helped them make inside of the pots. So later on, people could go back and see how old I was, or see how long that the stuff had been there. But the stuff wasn't put into the pots until sometime after the tunnels were dug, and I had already had a brick thing or something. It's a little bit later, but some of the items, I mean, we did some basic stuff at first, and then we came back, and it's very vague. They called me Lord, because I had helped them so much. I believe I had helped them start doing plowing stuff and maybe even some sugarcane or something, or I forget exactly how many things I had helped them with, but quite a few, at least 5 or 6 things. And there was some fighting on the island, and I told them to work it out, which they did because they called me Lord, and I loved them very deeply and very dearly. They were my people, and I was very upset when they started fighting. But everything calmed down. I think there's some talk of one of the chiefs being killed by the other one or something. It was very upsetting. I don't really remember exactly. It's very confusing to me now. Back then it used to make a lot of sense. It was perfect sense, and I thought everything was fine. Maybe everything was fine, and I get confused because so much time has passed. Anyway, since then, I became the largest ceramics manufacturer in the world, and the most advanced one as well. And it's been a very, very long road since then, and many, many, many more inventions since then. But that was very early on in my life, about like the 3rd place I had built or helped or whatever, 3rd group I had helped. And is very connected to my past. And there's ceramic tiles and even a ceramic history of me and what I had done up until that point somewhere on one of the walls. There's this big tablet, which in a language that I think they understand, you can read my history and who I am and a bit of information about me. And I asked them to do that, and I also asked them to put a date and stuff, and also chart down the history of their history and my history and everything, so I could understand it later on, because I knew I'd get confused, and I was already getting confused with everything that was happening. So That's Brazil on the tunnels. And what I remember about it, and me and it are very close, and they were very dear to me.